Welcome to the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Sunday, April 25th, Ian Cameron, your host, with you once again. And also, once again with us, Vytal Cote was with us for as a special guest on Saturday's show. And a great debut because he had a couple of good calls on the NHL board, including his best bet, which was the Arizona Coyotes, minus 120 against the LA Kings. They got the job done. Of course, had a best bet winner as well myself with Minnesota San Jose over the total. So 2-0 with the best bets for yesterday for Vytal and me on the Saturday show. Let's see if we can duplicate that today. Vytal, welcome back to the Ice Guys. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, that was good. Good start to the bets, and happy to see that one cash for both of us.
Yeah, no doubt. A brief recap of Saturday, and then we'll get into Sunday's games. Look, the Montreal Canadiens, that noose is tightening, and all they're doing is welcoming a whole bunch of trouble, allowing Calgary to hang in that playoff race, and Calgary with another win. And now if they beat Montreal tomorrow in the third game in regulation, there would be a 2-point gap between Montreal and Calgary. But Calgary, that game is every bit as important, if not even more important, than the first two games they've won. They really can't afford to go back to 6 points behind again if they lose tomorrow night with less games remaining than Montreal. So it is still vital, in my opinion, if this is going to be a playoff race for Calgary to win tomorrow night. Again, they take care of business against Montreal. The Leafs take care of business against Winnipeg. That was one of the losses for me yesterday, the Jets. Give the Leafs credit, though. Bounced back 3-1. In that game over the Jets. A nice performance by the Leafs, great defensively against the top players. And Paul Maurice making headlines for benching Mark Scheifele, overstaying his shift a little bit. He was on the ice for 1:20, turned the puck over in the offensive zone that led directly to the John Tavares goal on the transition opportunity for the Leafs. He was slow getting back to the bench. Coach ever had to ream you out, Vytal, for a slow change or staying out on a shift too long? Have you ever had that issue in the past?
Not too long, but maybe a couple too many turnovers, I would say, and I sat my happy ass on the bench for sure.
Yeah, Mark Scheifele found out the hard way, and you could see Maurice. He had the mask on, and of course, coaches are mandated to wear the masks now with the pandemic ongoing, and you could see him when the goal went in, and Scheifele was turned the puck over, slow to get back. The goal went in. You could see Maurice go. You could see him you could tell he's just not happy at all. He was not a happy coach with one of his star players for a really poor shift on his part, and then benched his ass. Like he barely played the rest of the second period. And then the third period as well. But then just said, hey, there's core values we adhere to, and he didn't adhere to it on that shift. So you got to give him credit. I always say that if I'm a coach and the top line player really screws up and doesn't play well, he'll get benched every bit as much from me as the fourth line player. To me, we don't play favorites. You're on the team. You're all expected to, do the right things, make the right plays. And when you don't, I don't care if it's a first liner or fourth liner. I think I would be in the same. You get treated everybody the same way. I know there's guys that make the bigger bucks, that have the bigger impact, that have the better numbers, but I'd be hard pressed to say, you know what, he's the number one. He's on our top line. I'm not going to bench him for screwing up, but I'm going to bench this fourth liner for doing the same thing. I wouldn't be able to put that together as a coach if I were to decide, run my team and run my bench that way. I think you got to sometimes crack the whip at times, especially when there are egregious mistakes on even the top line players as well.
Yeah, you want to keep everybody accountable, and you don't want to lose your team. You want everyone to be treated the same, and that's how you keep the good locker room.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll give the Minnesota Wild credit. Terry Edelman, yes, I'll mention them. Great win against San Jose. Not a terrible spot for Minnesota. Spot be damned. They got the job done against San Jose. Our special guest liked the Minnesota side yesterday as well in that game. He said minus 120 was pretty cheap on the Wild. It ended up being the case. They got the win against San Jose, clinched a playoff spot. Hey, they're not that far behind Vegas and Colorado. And with their offenses just torching teams right now, led by, again, Kirill Kaprizov, who's just outstanding every single night. So let's give Minnesota a little bit of credit. And if Cam Talbot plays well, dangerous team for sure moving forward. St. Louis beats Colorado yesterday, a tough day for Dubnyk, which is not always unexpected because he's obviously had a tough couple of seasons. What else do we have? How about Florida? I said if I bet more of my gut feels on some of these games, Vytal, I'd probably be richer than I am right now. Because I said gut feel is Florida probably bounces back. They bounce back. They've got character. They've been good off a loss. I just didn't want to get in Carolina's way, but Florida rallies to beat the Carolina Hurricanes last night in overtime. A very good win for the Panthers in bounce back mode there, which was good to see. And one more game we'll talk about from last night before we turn to today. We have to talk about it because it's a bad beat if you had Dallas in regulation. I know Dallas won the game in overtime 2-1. They should have won that game like 10-1. Seriously. I mean, the shots at one point in that game were 36-4 in favor of the Dallas. I've never seen something like that. It's hard to say that when you've been watching hockey, Vytal, for 30 years like I have. I've never seen that. 36-4 shots on goal advantage for the Dallas Stars. They were swarming the Detroit Red Wings. They were all over John Bernier, and give Bernier credit. He did everything he could to keep the Red Wings alive in that game, and he's the reason they got a point out of it. Dallas finally wins in overtime, but if you took Dallas in regulation at -140, you should have had a win. That is a bad beat. That is a tough beat because they should have won that game easily, and instead, you can't even cash your regulation bet because the game goes to overtime. Dallas gets the win, but it definitely should have been a lot easier than it was. Before we get to Sunday, Vytal, just some overall thoughts from you on yesterday's games.
Yeah, like you said, with the Dallas Detroit game, I mean, that's my fear picking against Detroit, is Bernier. When you have a good goalie like that who can stand on his head, it's always you might get one of those games. But yeah, it was a lot of action. It was a good day.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jonathan Bernier, you can criticize the way he's played in the past. You can criticize that you didn't know who Nelson Mandela was from a couple of years ago in that famous video clip that became viral online. But nevertheless, he's had a good season for the Detroit Red Wings. Definitely got to give him credit for that. All right, let's turn our attention to Sunday's board. We only have 3 games. We'll start with the lone matinee affair, the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Boston -125, road favorites here. Total 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. You look at the Bruins; they're trying to bounce back off a loss to the Buffalo Sabres. Kind of forgive them for that loss. I mean, it's never good losing to the Buffalo Sabres, but as we said, they had already beaten Buffalo handily. They had won 10 straight, 2 straight this week. Kind of a flat spot, maybe a look ahead to this big game against Pittsburgh. And the Bruins didn't play their best game. They had a great third period flurry and rally to try to come back and win that game, but it was just too little too late, and they fall short in that comeback bid against the Buffalo Sabres. We'll have to keep in mind if Patrice Bergeron plays, though. Patrice Bergeron was a late scratch on Friday night's game against Buffalo. He is probably going to be a game-time decision today for the Bruins. Obviously, you want him in the lineup if you're Boston. We'll have to see if he suits up. I think he'll do everything in his power to play. Big game against the Penguins here, but we'll have to wait and see if he is indeed in the lineup for the Bruins. On the flip side, Boston probably has a little scheduling and situational advantage because they played Friday against Buffalo, day off, whereas Pittsburgh had to play yesterday afternoon against New Jersey, and they survive and hang on for a 4-2 win. How about that? With 1 second left, less than 0.1 second left, Sidney Crosby into the empty net to cash for Pittsburgh -1.5 goals on the puck line. If you had that, for me, it saved a push for the over because I had 6 on the total. So getting that empty net goal at least allowed me to get the cash back on the over bet in that Devils Penguins game. So a lot of shenanigans from a betting standpoint with that Sidney Crosby empty net goal with less than 1 second left in the game yesterday. Pittsburgh playing some really good hockey, although, they fattened up their record the last few days against a horrible New Jersey team, which is not playing a lick of defense. It's going to be more difficult here against Boston. I think if the Bruins have Bergeron, I'd be tempted to bet the Boston Bruins here, a bounce back spot off a loss. I lean that way. As far as the total goes at 5.5, it's tricky because Pittsburgh can play good defense, so can Boston. But 5.5, the Bruins offense has been a little bit more wide open and push the play with Taylor Hall there. David Krejci's feeling it again, playing good. So 5.5 is that total where I'd have to lean over. And I think Boston and Pittsburgh, if you look back at series history, more overs than unders head to head with these two teams. So at 5.5, I'd have to look toward the over from a total standpoint. Vytal, what's your take here? Pittsburgh hosting Boston.
Yeah, I picked Boston money line 120. I think Boston's 4-2 against Pittsburgh this year. And I was actually leaning towards the under because the under I think is five out of six hit the under. Their last game, I think it was like 7-5. But if I had to lean one way, I think it's a must-win for Boston. They're in that fourth spot right now, and New York plays as well today, and they're in the fifth spot. So if I had to lean one way, I'd pick Boston money line.
All right, liking the Bruins here at minus 120 to minus 125 in this one. Should be a good one. No question about that. I'm a little bit disappointed the Bruins were not just, favored, but, minus 120. I thought it might be even money I'd get with the Bruins, but they're giving some respect to the Bruins, the betting markets and the odds makers here in this game. No question. Next up, Buffalo Sabres, New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 265 home favorites. The total 6 shaded to the under here in this game. I think the best bet, the safest bet might be a Rangers team total over 3.5 minus 130. That way I don't have to worry about what Buffalo does against Igor Shesterkin, who is expected to be in net tonight for the Rangers, who's had a pretty good run. He didn't have a great start his last time out that he started, but other than that, he's been really good for the last couple of weeks in net for this Rangers team. The Rangers looking to keep things going here against the Buffalo Sabres. We'll see if they can keep it going. New York has done well against Buffalo, 4-1-1 this season. All of those games close, though. 5 of those games decided by 1 goal. 3 went beyond regulation. And look, you could say Buffalo's a bad team and they've had a bad season, but you have to look at the fact that in the short term, they've picked it up. Casey Middlestat, Dylan Cousins. There's a lot of these younger players for the Sabres that have played well. Arttu Ruotsalainen, since he's been called up to this Sabres team, he has been pretty good. He's given them an offensive jolt as well. Dahlin on the back end's played a little bit better of late. There's things to like about Buffalo. And for Don Granato, the interim head coach, they're playing hard. They're working hard nightly. They're not rolling over to anybody right now. And Dustin Tokarski, who's going to be a net here for the Sabres, he's been solid for them in a few spots. Now, is he a guy that long-term you're going to use as your number one goalie? No. But he's a guy that played for the Montreal Canadiens a few years ago. He's been around the block. I still remember the World Juniors for Canada long time ago, and Dustin Tokarski was their goalie there in that way back when I think Jordan Eberle and John Tavares were on the Canadian World Junior team. That's how long ago it was when Tokarski started for them. But he's a capable goalie, and he has been as of late. We know the Rangers' offense is really feeling it right now. Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin, all in good form offensively right now. As good as Tokarski's been, Rangers are a really, really good offensive team right now. Have been scoring goals in bunches for the last week or two. Remember what they did against New Jersey. They lit them up. I think Buffalo's played a little better defensively lately than New Jersey, but I still think the Rangers can get to 4 goals. So that's the angle I like here. New York Rangers team total over 3.5 here, which is minus 130. What are your thoughts, Vytal, on this one, Sabres Rangers?
Yeah, I don't love anything about this game, but the Rangers are in a must-win situation. Like you said, the total 3.5 or 3. I think that's a good bet. The only other bet I would think about making is maybe New York at minus 1.5, just to get some value. But even then, I don't love much about this game.
And even then, the Rangers sometimes play close games, including against Buffalo. I remember having Rangers regulation and puck line earlier this season against Buffalo, and they had to work for it. So to me, this is tough to. And again, at these prices, Buffalo's getting priced like a terrible team. That's why the price on Buffalo is always in this kind of range, around plus 240, plus 250 like this. But they're outperforming their season record right now. The effort's there, the work ethic is there. They're not getting blown out in games like they were. They're a tough team in this price range right now based on their current form to bet against when they're getting this kind of price. So that's why I just like isolating the team total. I don't have to worry about whether the Rangers win the game or how much they win the game by. If they can just score 4 goals, it'll be a win. So that's why I like the team total more than anything here on the Rangers. New Jersey, Philadelphia. Philadelphia minus 200 home favorites, total 6 Look, I know the Devils are terrible right now, but there's no freaking way I'm laying minus 200 with the Philadelphia Flyers at this point in time. This is a team that's not making the playoffs. They are done now. The Rangers and the Bruins keep winning in front of them. There's no way this team's going to the playoffs. I think they know that. Reality is sinking in. They're not playing good hockey. They're losing games. Now, obviously, they have the capabilities to beat New Jersey. This is a winnable game for the Philadelphia Flyers. But boy, I mean, you're talking about minus 200 with this group right now. Not very good. The Devils, by the way, 9 straight losses for them. So it's hard to get behind them. We said it on yesterday's show. They're really struggling defensively. They're not getting much consistent goaltending right now from Blackwood, Wedgwood, or Dell, any other goalies. The Flyers' offense has completely dried up, though. The one thing the Flyers were doing, even when they were struggling like a couple of weeks ago, their defense was shit, their goaltending was bad, but they were at least scoring, and averaging over 3 goals per game. Lately, that's not been the case. Their offense has dried up. I've got to believe. I have to, that at least there's still Couturier, Giroux, Konechny, Voracek. There's still good players offensively on this Flyers team, that against a team that has been hemorrhaging goals like the New Jersey Devils have been defensively. This has to be a game for me. The Flyers can get their offense going a little bit. On the flip side, any team's capable of scoring against Philly these days, and New Jersey has shown some offensive upside. Hughes and Zacha and Bratt, among others, have chipped in on Miles Wood. I like Miles Wood. What an energy player he is for the Devils. Goes to the net, has an offensive upside, can score goals for you. I think the Devils score. I think the Flyers score. I like over the total here. Philly, New Jersey, over 6 minus 110. Vytal, do you have any opinion or any bets on this game?
Yeah, that's the only bet I had, is the over. The goalies have been pretty inconsistent for Philly. And Blackwood was pretty good at the beginning. I think he dropped off a little bit. I think you could see a few goals scored today. So I do like the over 6.
All right.
Well.
Vytal, our special guest, liking the over as well. Over 6 minus 110, Devils and Flyers. Fourth and final game, Columbus Blue Jackets, Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay minus 280 to minus 285. Home favorites here. Total 5.5 here, shaded to the under slightly in this one. This is another one. You got a lot of big favorites on this card. I mean, when you look at it, you got 3 of the 4 games today where you're talking about a favorite of minus 200 or more. So these are tough games to bet. I know I don't want Columbus. There is not any chance in hell that I bet Columbus. However, I will say this. They do play Tampa Bay reasonably competitive. They have all season long. They have been able to find ways to stay in games with Tampa. Even the other night, Columbus is mired in this dreadful losing streak, and they still, they take the lead on Tampa Bay. And I think the game was like 1-1 going into the third period. And Tampa Bay needed a couple goals in the third to put the game away. So, that's the weird thing here. And that's why it's tough to lay this big of a price with Tampa Bay. And even the, regulation line here with Tampa's in the minus 170, 80, minus 190 range. So you're not getting a great number there with the Lightning and regulation either. The only way, and I've said this before, that you can find value if you're going to back the big favorite here is take the first period puck line and lay the half a goal in the first period. You could take Tampa Bay minus a half goal plus 110 in the first period, so that if they're leading after 20 minutes, you cash your ticket, you win. I think there's a chance we could see Tampa Bay with the lead going into the first intermission, especially because I don't think they liked the way they started the other night. They fell behind. They had a tough first period against Columbus. I think the onus is on them to maybe have a better start. I'm actually going to bet that one. Tampa Bay, it's the only value bet right now with the Lightning in a game like this where they're such a massive favorite against the struggling Columbus Blue Jackets. There's not much value on the money line, not even on the full game puck line, nor is there much value on the regulation line. So to me, that's the best one to go with. Tampa Bay, first period, minus a half goal at plus 110. To just say, Tampa Bay, go out there, get the lead in the first period, take the lead into the first intermission, and we win our bet. I think there's a chance for that, especially when you see the quotes from Braden Point, head coach John Cooper, talking about they didn't like their start the other night against Columbus. When players, and this, players and coaches, when they talk about, hey, we got to have a better start, usually they try to act on it early in the game in the first period. Hopefully we see that tonight from Tampa Bay. Elvis Merzlikins, of course, the other night went off and basically poured his heart out about the struggles of the Jackets, saying, I can't sleep at night. Talking about how we've losing all these games. I can't sleep. It's honestly affecting me. And I feel for the guy, because you know what, Vytal, when I go 0-8 betting on a certain night, and I've had those nights, I've had these dreadful nights where I'm losing thousands of dollars seriously on one night. And I'm thinking the same thing as Elvis. When I'm losing on the betting board, it's not a hockey game, but on the betting board, I can't sleep either. It bothers me. So, it's the human emotion and that side of it coming out of Elvis Merzlikins the other night after yet another loss for his Jackets. And I appreciate that. In a world where we get the players just saying the same old boring ass shit to every question asked by the media, to see someone, lay it all on the line and show some emotion there like Elvis Merzlikins did the other night. I enjoyed that. Good on him for stepping up and saying what he did. Vytal, what do you think here? Columbus, Tampa.
Yeah, I don't really love anything about this game. I think minus a half for Tampa to win the first. I think that's a good bet. I think Tampa's been kind of just coasting. They're kind of they were a wagon in the middle of the season, and now they're just coasting, whatever, getting ready for the playoffs, which is fine. I don't hate that. But Columbus's goalie's been a little inconsistent. Maybe I'm not sure what the line is, but Tampa to get over 3.5 goals maybe is a good play. But again, I don't love anything about this game. Tampa minus 300. It's just you're not going to get any value for your money, and I definitely don't see Columbus winning this game. But maybe Tampa in the first periods is a good bet. But I didn't really have anything for this one.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's a tough game, and even me, like I'm lukewarm on the Tampa first period bet. I bet it, but it's not a strong play for me. Tampa Bay, even in the first period here in this one. Again, it's tough to find that value in a game like this, and yet at the same time, it's difficult when you're talking about a team that's lost 8 in a row like Columbus has. To get on board with them. I like Johnny K in our chat though. Feeling bold. It's taking Jackets first period plus 320. What a price. Hey, take a shot. I tried that with the Devils yesterday, and I was pounding my head against the wall. I tried that, Johnny K, with the New Jersey Devils yesterday, and it didn't work out. But I hope your Jackets plus 320 first period bet works out better than mine did with New Jersey. Although I really shouldn't say that because I'm on Tampa in the first period in this one. But still, even if I lose, I never want to wish anyone to lose. So even though I'm against you on that, I understand where you're coming from. And they did get off to a good start, the Jackets, but I'm kind of hoping and thinking the Lightning now will get off to a better start. Not liking the way they started the other night against the Jackets. All right, that is the Sunday card. Only 4 games. We'll get to best bets in just a second. Again, want to thank Vytal Cote. He was our weekend special guest on the shows Saturday and Sunday. We'll have him back on the show later this season at some point for sure. Good to have him talking NHL betting. Before we get to best bets, we'll see if we can deliver another 2-0 sweep with those. Reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. Again, NFL draft next week. They're going to have props galore for it. SEC players drafted in the first round, Alabama players, Ohio State players. I mean, they're going to have so many different props for the NFL draft, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball action every day. Great time of year to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. When you do that, you'll get a deposit bonus, weekly specials, weekly incentives. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app if you haven't already. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets. We'll see if we can have an encore performance from yesterday's 2-0 sweep. Vytal, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet on this Sunday slate?
I'm going to take a look at the Boston-Pitt game. I think it's a must-win situation for Boston. They're 4-2 against Pittsburgh this season, and I think they get it done under the circumstances and everything. Hopefully Bergeron plays. That'll help for sure. But I got Boston money line 120.
There you go. Boston minus 120 against Pittsburgh. Best bet for Vytal Cote for Sunday. Mine is going to be New Jersey, Pittsburgh over 6 minus 110. No, it's not Pittsburgh. Sorry, New Jersey, Philadelphia over 6 minus 110. I think the Flyers have to get this offense going. No better team to get a struggling offense and the team having trouble putting the puck in the net, no better a cure for from the elixir than this New Jersey Devils defense right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think they'll get their offense revved up a little bit today. But on the flip side, you can never fully trust that Flyers team to shut you down. Defensive issues and goaltending issues all season long are why they are not going to make the playoffs. And I do think New Jersey can contribute on the scoreboard as well today. So New Jersey, Philadelphia, Devils, Flyers, over 6, -110. That is going to be my best bet for this Sunday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for tuning in live. A reminder, we're on YouTube Live 7 days a week, the only NHL betting show that's on 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're on all of those podcast platforms, so make sure you download the show when you can't watch live. We once again want to thank our special guest, Vytal Cote, for joining us this weekend on the Ice Guys. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.